You're listening to Seattle Real Estate Podcast.
Welcome back to another episode of Seattle Real Estate Podcast, my friends. What are we talking about today? Police and the FBI infiltration of the Portland protests. Yep, that's going on. This raises questions. Doesn't raise any questions for me. I'm kind of thinking, good, it's about time. If these guys were doing any actual peaceful protesting, they wouldn't have an issue if they had some police escorts, would they? No, it's when they go down that dark road of bashing out small business windows and big business windows. They're equal opportunity window basher outers, aren't they? That's what we're talking about today. Before we get into it, before we jump into this article from KGW8 in Portland, my name is Sean Reynolds. Welcome if you're new. I own a couple of real estate companies and I read the news that you might want to hear, that you might be interested in. All right, so police and FBI infiltrate Portland protests. Saw some tweets of people involved in the protests that were probably on the opposite side of this discussion. And they're like, who's the effing informant? Who's the effing snitch? That's what it was. Who's the snitch? They got a snitch in their midst. Uh-oh. And it's raising questions. Plus, we got some plainclothes police and FBI in there, just walking along, seeing what's going on. So when the peaceful protests go not so peaceful, as they invariably do, despite what major media tells you, it was just peaceful protesting that caused $2 billion worth of damage across the United States to innocent storefront windows. That's the thing I can't get over is like, how does that really, what kind of point are you getting across? This is a direct action protest. Okay, what is your direct action? What does that mean? To me, it's just a catchword for let's go bash some windows. You know what I mean? It's just like, we're not really accomplishing anything here. The message is not heard over the graffiti and the damage and all the other nonsense that goes on with these things. But that's just me. I'm a real estate guy. I care about those windows. Because you know what? 5, 10, 15, 20 grand a pop, up to 50 grand a pop for Nordstrom windows. And these are businesses that have had a tough time during the pandemic. These are businesses in a downtown neighborhood that are battling homelessness, these protests, being shut down, not having enough consumers because nobody's, having their workers go into the downtown offices. Just these businesses have faced an uphill battle from the get-go with COVID. And now they've got this kind of stuff going on. I don't have a problem. There are no questions raised on my end if the cops or the FBI infiltrate the Portland protests. None. Because if these were peaceful, hey, there would be no issues either, right? You got a police escort. Who doesn't want a police escort? If you're on the side of Johnny the Law, you're okay with that. Hey, ride 2 cops' cars on either side of me. Give me a motorcycle escort in front. I'll hold my sign. I'll get my point across. And I won't care. I'll be happy to have a police escort because I'm not doing anything wrong. I'm okay with that. So what are the questions? That's what we're going to get into here. All right. Court records indicate police relied on an informant. Snitch. And plainclothes FBI agents to help identify suspects in at least 2 protest arrests. Snitches get stitches. Is somebody getting some stitches? I don't know. Probably won't hear about that. They usually don't because that's the whole point. Keep snitches quiet, right? An unnamed informant, plainclothes FBI agents, tactics typically used in drug cases or serious crimes. They're being used by police monitoring protests in Portland, according to court records. I am totally okay with that. That whole freedom of speech thing. Yeah, you know what? When you're doing the violent rioting, all bets are off, right? Police, they're going to use whatever means necessary. And that's what they're doing. Activists and civil rights attorneys fear this police surveillance may violate the right to free speech, a risk they worry outweighs any potential benefit. Okay, that I would agree with you if these protesters were peacefully protesting, and you've got, limitations on that, but you don't. What we're trying to avoid is the destruction and violence that invariably happens when these folks get together, right? That's what we're trying to avoid here. And that's what the police are doing. Guaranteed, they've had a ton of conversations. Hey, here's what we're going to do. I think it has a potential chilling impact on First Amendment speech. This isn't about First Amendment speech. This is about violence, right? Said, J. Ashlee Albies, a civil rights attorney in Portland. Albies worries the tactic may deter law-abiding citizens from participating in demonstrations and undermine trust between law enforcement and the community. Nah, I don't think so. No, because law-abiding citizens, they're okay with the police being there. It's the non-law-abiding citizens that are like, oh, what are you doing here? You're a cop. If they feel like the person next to them is a government informant, they're going to be less likely to participate. Well, not if they're doing something that's legal. If you're doing something that's legal, you can participate all day long. Kind of like when you have got the parade at 4th of July and you have police there escorting the 4th of July parade. Do those participants feel threatened by police presence as they march down Main Street? They don't, do they? Why is that? Because they're not doing anything illegal, nor do they have plans to do anything illegal. I mean, they might light off some fireworks later that they bought on the reservation. We've all done that. Well, not all of us. I have for years and years and years, because the reservation is the best place to get the fireworks, and I am a big supporter of fireworks. I probably shouldn't be. I probably shouldn't even be telling you that. But I love fireworks. I love setting off fireworks. There's a video of me in 4th of July garb on this channel, blowing up some epic. I think we blew up a watermelon. We went up to the reservation and we lit off some fireworks on the reservation, and it was a lot of fun. We did it in the daylight hours because it was a work event. Plus, I didn't really want to be on the reservation lighting off fireworks because it's like all bets are off and just explosions everywhere, just boom, boom, boom. So, but if you're peacefully marching down Main Street, doing your thing, you're not going to be concerned if there's a police escort, are you? No, you're not. So this is a non-argument. On April 13th, Portland police declared a riot after demonstrators threw fireworks and set a fire at the Portland Association building. Officers arrested one person, 19-year-old Alma Raven Guido. Court records later revealed that an unnamed informant within the crowd helped identify Raven Guido. Uh-oh, we got a snitch. Got a snitch in the midst who Raven Guido faces charges of arson, criminal mischief, and riot. Let's do what Florida did, and let's give them some extra sentencing. Let's have them cool their jets for 6 months. Let's do that. Let's go down that road with these people, because this has nothing to do with First Amendment. This has to do with violence and crime. There are already consequences for the crime, and the crimes of the charges of arson, criminal mischief, and riot. The informant has no criminal convictions, has a history of providing credible and reliable information on multiple prior investigations, Portland Fire Lieutenant Jason Anderson explained in court papers. Interesting, right? An informant. You know things are bad when they're putting an informant in on this kind of stuff. It has finally gotten to that point where, hey, we got to do something. Let's get an informant in there. Who do you got? Who do you got? Who do you know? Who do you got that can help us out? What do you got to pay him? What do you got to bribe him with? What charges do you have to get that informant off of? That's my first thing is this person doesn't have any convictions. All right, but they're an informant. That tells me their slate has been cleaned or it never got dirty. Because they turned, right? It's not clear how often or under what circumstances Portland police use informants to monitor protests. We'll never know, nor do we care. It's just if you can get some convictions on this stuff, I'm okay with that. Because what's going on in Portland, not okay with. Portland Police Bureau directives define an informant as an individual working for a member in an undercover status. We have intrigue going on here, right? I mean, this is getting down there. This is pretty interesting. Confidential informants can be paid or work for case consideration. There we go. I would like you to consider letting me go free if I snitch on my fellow peaceful protesters who are clearly not so peaceful. It used to be in prosecutions that they did not like informants because, let's face it, most informants are criminals with dirtbag records, said Mike Levine, a retired DEA supervisory officer and undercover specialist. I love he calls them out and says they're criminals with dirtbag records. They're low-level criminals, right? You can't trust them, and yet you need them. They give you information you need, because how else are they going to infiltrate this kind of situation unless they're a fellow dirtbag, right? Court records indicate Portland police have also relied on plainclothes FBI agents to infiltrate and monitor recent demonstrations in Portland. When I get anywhere close to this kind of stuff, when I go to change from my work wardrobe into my let's try not get killed at the protest wardrobe, invariably the thought that goes through my head is, what can you wear that makes you look less like a cop or an FBI agent? And invariably, when I walk out the door, I look like a damn cop or an FBI agent. I don't know what it is. I just, I don't know. I'm like, damn it. Don't I have any clothes that make me look, I don't know, I guess less Johnny Law-ish? And unfortunately, I got to really work to do that. And I don't know why that is. And I've had people point that out. Hey, you look like a cop. And I'm like, I know this is not on purpose. I don't do this on purpose. I get that look. Maybe it's middle age. I got some blonde hair, I got blue eyes, and that always draws attention, especially these protests, because they think I'm a Nazi, right? I mean, let's be honest. I've got that super blue eyes, which I chose at birth, because when you get that option, when you pop out of mom, you have that option. Sorry, mom. You have that option of blue eyes, dark eyes, maybe some green eyes, hazel eyes. And I chose blue because, who doesn't want blue's eyes? No. You get what you get, and I can't really help it. So I wear sunglasses, except at night, because that makes you look even shadier. Let's keep going. On October 11th, prosecutors said FBI agents wearing plain clothes in a protest crowd watched a man use a metal baton to smash out the windows at the Oregon Historical Society. I just talked about this. I talked about this in my last podcast. I said that a Boys and Girls Club got hit in Seattle, I think. That was incorrect. It was actually in Portland. And they've also hit the Oregon Historical Society. And they said they tagged it with no more history or something. It's just like, what? Why are we going down that road? What's wrong with history? You're going to have it no matter what. So they smashed out the windows of the Oregon Historical Society, the Portland State University, and many other businesses. The FBI agents then relayed information about the suspect to Portland police, according to court records. Malik Muhammad, 24, is facing felony charges for the vandalism, along with attempted aggravated murder charges for 2 different incidents where he allegedly threw lit Molotov cocktails at police. All right, snitches, do your job. Put these guys in jail. I hope he goes away for a while. I really do. This is illegal activity that should not be tolerated. Put him in jail. Let him cool his jets. Let him think about the wrongness of his ways, the error of his ways. It's definitely not a new tactic, said Jillian Snyder, an adjunct lecturer at John Jay College of Criminal Justice and former New York Police Department officer. Snyder explained that using plainclothes officers to monitor large public protests is a long-standing practice. The tactic allows police to monitor protest movements and, if necessary, root out those committing violent criminal activity. All right, doing something. There's a reason for it, said Snyder. They're going to ensure that protests remain peaceful because everyone has a right to protest as long as we remain peaceful. And I don't have a problem. If you are peacefully protesting and you're not doing anything against the law, I've got zero problems with you. It's when you take the hammer to the window, problem. It's just that basic, right? You break the law. I got a problem. There's no justifying breaking the law. Having a uniformed officer in the crowd might incite anger, Snyder explained, especially during anti-police rallies. If they use plainclothes officers, it could lessen the recognizability of them, but still allow them safely and from a distance to monitor what is going on at the protests. So these protests have a level of, so now they're afraid of plainclothes cops and FBI agents. They don't want live streamers because the net is circling around these protesters who are not peaceful, right? I mean, we just know it. There's more and more things. We're going to see more and more of these guys, I believe, go to jail. And I'll read those stories to you right here in Seattle Real Estate Podcast for sure. That's what we do here. That's what we cover. Portland police acknowledged a request for comment, but a spokesperson was unable to provide a statement prior to deadline due to limited staffing. They are out there trying to take care of the citizenry on reduced staff numbers. Police departments have been defunded. The gun violence, committees have been disbanded. They've got gun violence going crazy. Now we've got some protests coming up. And there's a lot to consider. There's a lot of stuff going on. The FBI also declined to comment on specific activity or cases. Well, since you asked, let us tell you our strategy, where we're going to be, which officers will be there. No, any cop organization, they're not going to tell you anything because it's not in their interest to. They're trying to do it, secretly, because if people know about it, not so secret, not going to happen, right? Our efforts are solely focused on identifying, investigating, and disrupting individuals who are inciting violence and engaging in criminal activity. And I am 100% okay with the police and the FBI solely focusing on identifying, investigating, and disrupting individuals. I just am. I'm a grown-up. That's why. All right. Steele said the FBI respects the rights of people to peacefully exercise free speech and assembly. Me too. No issues. Our focus is not on peaceful protesters, but on those. The focus is on the quote unquote peaceful protesters. Know what I mean? Wink, wink. It's kind of like when that peaceful protester walked by with a can of soup or whatever canned food he had. And he said, "Oh yeah, I'm at this protest. So I'm taking this home to my family." And he literally did a wink, wink to the whatever media outlet it was. He's going to throw that damn can at a cop. I'm a no-go. That's a 2 thumbs down for me. That's some parent out there should just be cringing. Oh, that's my kid. I didn't raise him very well, did I? Man, I knew I should have reprimanded him for throwing whatever that was when he was 10 years old. I didn't. Look at him now. He's throwing cans of soup at the cops. Gosh. Ugh. Our focus is not on peaceful protesters, but on those threatening their safety and the safety of others with violence and destruction of properties, wrote Steele. Albie, the civil rights lawyer, believes historically police infiltration has disproportionately targeted progressive and left-leaning activists. Why is that? Let's ask ourselves that. Why is that? I don't know. You guys let me know in the comments, right? I think we all know why that is, especially during this kind of stuff. The progressive and left-leaning activists, because they're the ones out bashing in windows night after night, right? It's not the right-wing guys doing that, is it? No. Albie argues that there should be greater transparency and accountability if police continue to rely on undercover informants and plainclothes federal agents in protest crowds. Nonsense. No. 2 thumbs down on that. That's ridiculous. If they're not breaking the law, then I would agree with that. If they are breaking the law, which invariably they do, then they get what they get. Got to deal with it. Hey, you broke the law. You got to go to jail for a year. Bubba is your cellmate. That's just how that goes. I think it certainly increases the fear and mistrust of the government, said Albie. Well, only if you're doing something wrong. All right. That's, it's just basically that simple. If you're not doing anything wrong, then you've got nothing to fear. Out on my boat this weekend, we got pulled over by the police because we were speeding going under a bridge. That's right. I was not driving. One of my help was driving, And we were going a little fast, and I kind of thought, well, I told him under that last bridge to go slower. He's not on this one. If we get pulled over, yep, I'm the owner of the boat, but we're not doing anything else wrong. Yep, we got pulled over. Hey, you're going fast under the bridge. Can't go that fast. Got to slow that boat down. Don't want a lot of wake as you go underneath the bridge. And it's one of our floating bridges. We got 2 major floating bridges that link up Seattle to the east side. We went under both to get to our destination, where we hung out for the afternoon and enjoyed some warm April weather, which in Seattle is, I mean, it's just like, it's like the Sasquatch. I mean, if you see it, it's really cool. I mean, because you're probably not going to. You're not going to see sun in April in Seattle either. It's just that rare. But since we weren't doing anything wrong, we didn't, I wasn't too worried about being pulled over by the police. Just wasn't. It wasn't a big deal. I, made my way from the bow to the back, and we got out our registration stuff, gave him my name and number, gave him our WN number for our boat. He wrote it down on a little pad, said, hey, slow down. And we went, yep, we need to slow down. Got to go slow. Got to go slow when you're told to. And when you're not, it's like the speeding signs. If you are not obeying the speeding signs and you get pulled over, you get what you get. So infiltration of peaceful protesting, nah, no such thing. They're not going to infiltrate if you're just holding up some signs and peacefully, talking about what you want to talk about. They're not going to bother with that. It's when the hammers come out. It's when the Molotov cocktails come out. It's when the spray paint comes out, because we know you're not there to help paint the neighborhood with nice colors and, a nice palette of whatever, builder beige. No, you're there to write ACAB and a bunch of other nonsense that nobody else really appreciates, nor do they support. So if there is an infiltration, I'm all right with it. I'm down with it, because they're not going to infiltrate somebody not doing something illegal, because there's no reason for them to do that. And you'll see these police. You'll see police escorts in Bellevue. There was a string of cops. We knew of a protest, and I went over and I covered that. I've got a full video on that on this channel. This was after the George Floyd. I want to say this was basically after summer. Maybe it was fall, September, something like that, if you want to look for that. But I got pulled over by the Bellevue police. I was carrying my backpack with some camera gear in it, and I had pulled out one of my GoPros that was on a tripod, and the tripod's one of those tripods it's got the gnarled thing, so you can wrap it around things, and you put the tripod wherever you want to. It's not one of the photographer ones. It's a quick bring it out, and you can do a selfie view, or you can do whatever. And they thought it looked like a weapon, and I could totally see that. So the cop pulled me over. I was walking, and he kind of pulled over, and I was like, okay. I was bringing out another camera or changing out a battery or something. And he goes, hey, the mayor issued a no weapons ordinance during this peaceful protest. We thought we saw you had something there. What's the deal? And I'm like, and I showed him my bag, and I'm like, oh, you're probably thinking of my, he said, you had something like about that long. I was like, okay, yeah, that was it was a tripod. And he's like, oh, okay. And I told him who I was, and he didn't care, and what I was doing. He didn't care. He was just like, yeah, as long as you have a weapon, we're probably going to have words. But I didn't. And so I was, able to kind of go on my merry way. And that's what happens when you're abiding the law. I know, it's shocking. And so I wasn't fearful of being infiltrated or pulled over or, oh, is that guy in all black? Is that guy an FBI agent? Because if he is, geez, I got to go. Because I got warrants out for never mind. Yeah, I don't have any warrants out for my arrest. But these folks, that's why they need to worry. That's why they need to worry. Because they got nonsense going on. Nonsense that you and I don't have going on. Because we're, for the most part, not at these protests. We are not throwing bricks through windows, not throwing cans of soup at police officers. We're not graffitiing anything. We're not tagging anything. We're not creating art. We're not, throwing garbage cans. I talked about that. Nothing says progress like overturning a garbage can in the middle of a public street and just letting that garbage spill out. Because, that really sends the message of, forward progress on whatever subject it is that you're, kind of wanting to get your message out there. Nothing says progress like an empty garbage can in the middle of the street. Okay, so yeah, it's good to know FBI agents and police snitches, they're involved. We're at that point, right? Infiltration. So when these peaceful protesters look around, I hope they look around and go, oh, I don't really know who that person is. Who is that person? Is that a cop? An FBI agent? Don't really know. Can't really tell. Might be. Will that keep them from doing their thing? Probably not. It's going to take a bunch of them to get arrested before they realize, oh, yeah, we're on the hot seat here. We're on the hot seat, and we might do a little time if we keep this up. Especially if you break in the windows of the Boys and Girls Club or a historical society or a church. The church one to me, that's just, it's like, didn't your parents teach you anything? Church, no go. Don't do anything to a church. It's just a bad idea. Whether you believe in a higher power or not, do you want to test that theory? Hey, you broke the windows on the church. I'm going to strike you down. No, I really don't. Just let it go and don't, pass on. Don't break any windows, but seriously, the Boys and Girls Club, Historical Society, and churches, what are we doing? It's 2021. I guess we're doing whatever we want. All right. I will keep you updated on this story because guess what? You're going to have some more of this come out because these peaceful protesters are not done. When the Chauvin trial verdict comes out, I think you're going to have a bunch of this and we're going to have to deal with it. And I will cover it for you right here on the Seattle Real Estate Podcast because that is what we are doing. All right. That's it for me. I will catch up with you guys on the next one. Until then, on the last podcast I just recorded, I said I was going to talk about an enormous pile of garbage that's in Portland. And that's really what I'm going to do. But I had to cover this FBI, infiltration of the peaceful protesters. I had to cover that. That's a good one, right? Who doesn't want to hear about that? All right. That's it for me. I'll catch up with you guys soon. Talk soon. Bye. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and hit the notification bell so you'll know when our next video is out.